Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We liked our movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained best pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the favorite bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie are here to say it's the Large Marge Santa's podcast. Hey,
Hey guys, welcome to the Large Marge Tennis Podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about movies that shape their childhood. I'm Sweetie with an IE.
And I'm Sweetie with a Y.
Well, we're coming off the other side of 200 eps. 200 eps.
Sure looks different over here.
Wow, we're like professionals now. Hey guys, we're at episode 201 today on the podcast. Pretty cool,
Hey.
pretty cool. Let me tell you a little story.
Ooh, love stories.
So today I was reading a short story collection by the author Karen Russell. If you're familiar with her work, she did this kind of funky novel as her first one called Swamplandia. And then she's done another short story collection. She had a book before Swamplandia. Anyway, she's just kind of like cool.
She's just cool.
Stuff.
She's cool.
Thinks outside of the box with her stories, let's say. So I was reading this story this morning during my quiet reading time, which takes place from 8 to 9 o'clock when I work from home. Just want you to know my schedule. And it was this story called The Tornado Auction. And it was imagining like the Midwest and tornadoes being almost like livestock, and people like raise them and like grow these tornadoes. So you would like go to this auction and like bet like, or what do you call it? Not bet. What is that called? When you are an auctioneer, you not wager. What is it called? Anyway, you're putting your paddle up and you're like, okay, I'll take that, $5,000 going once, going twice. So on these little baby bid. And then you bid on these baby tornadoes and then you like grow them. It's like this, it was really like funky short story, right? Well, spoiler, I'll tell you. So this guy was like a tornado like grower, and then like one carried away his daughter. She's okay. She like got dropped out of it. The wife was like, it's either like us or the tornado. So he gave it up. But then his wife died and all his daughters are grown up, and he decided to like, he was really depressed and like thought he needed to go back to like wrangling tornadoes or whatever. Okay. So he bought a tornado for $15,000, like raised it and let it go.
Wow.
I know. It was really cool. It was good. It was a neat story. Anyway, so it got me thinking, like, wow, I have not seen the movie Twister in so long, and I really love that movie. So
it's a twister.
I texted Sweetie immediately, or maybe it was over GChat, and I was like, hey, we should do Twister. And she's like, yeah, we should. And I said, let's do it today. And so here we are.
Cool story.
Now.
Yeah, I was filled with a little bit of trepidation when you told me we should watch Twister, because Twister is one of those movies that gives me, I wouldn't call it bubble guts so much as like a bubble log of bubbles. In my stuff,
It's just
very,
destruction.
Yeah, there's so much. It's just like one after the other, upsetting, harrowing situation after another. Anxiety. I'm just full of anxiety.
As soon as you calm down, another one comes.
There's too many cute animals in them that are in danger, and it's
It's
so stressful. It's just a really stressful movie.
Yeah.
I understand why people enjoy it, but I can't enjoy any natural disaster movies because they just freak me out so badly that I'm like, I just don't enjoy myself.
Yeah, I don't normally enjoy that genre, but I do like this one, and I think here's why. So, as I think we talked about when we did Wizard of Oz, I had this fascination with like tornadoes when I was like 10, 11, 12 maybe. And there was also a lot of stuff coming up about tornadoes, like Night of the Twister, this movie, something
I know.
else.
We always think there's like the tornado
maybe
renaissance,
there isn't even
and
like
there's
that
only
many.
like those two. Maybe there's more, but I do remember tornadoes being like a thing.
And we had talked about during that podcast how living on Cape Cod, like we don't really get those, but I like wanted to get them so bad, and I made like a whole like escape plan for the family, or more like crouch plan. You're like, You
we
need to
had a
shelter.
storm cellar.
Right. And all I could think of was like, thank God we built a basement because now like we'll be safe in a tornado.
Yeah.
And I just had this whole idea like it would happen and we'd all run down there and it was like very exciting to me. I mean, scary, like but exciting. So then this movie came out and I would have been, so this came out in 1996. So I was 13 or just about to turn 13. And I don't think I saw it in the movie theater, but I was excited for it. And it is like a really exciting movie and I still really like it today.
Wow.
I think it holds up. As do the effects, very impressive.
I think the larger tornado effects are impressive, but it's the stuff that comes out of it, like towards them, that looks pretty
It's
stupid.
just the one cow.
No, there's like cow, there's like the thing, there's this log that looks stupid. I think it'd be fun to see this though in 3D probably.
Yeah.
But I think that the effects I'm like half and half. I saw the zippers, I was just like, oh, that looks
The
fake.
zippers?
Like it was fake. It looked fake.
Oh, I don't know. I am not like too on top of that stuff, so it looks like really good to me. And like when we saw like a Jurassic Park and stuff, you're like, wow, that's like pretty good for the 90s. I just think it's like
It's good for the edges.
good,
Yeah.
good
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
So really loved it. I still like kind of want to be in a tornado. I want a guarantee like I'm not gonna die, but like I want to experience it. Now I don't want to experience it like tied to a pipe with a belt. That's for damn sure. But I wouldn't mind like a crouch situation and being like, oh, it's windy and like scary.
I
think
just
that would be
feel
fun.
like you would be dead anyways because you wouldn't be able to breathe. Like the rate that the wind must be flying around in there is like what do they ever say in this? Like how fast it gets in there?
We'd
But,
have
like,
to look it up. It's over
imagine-
200 miles an hour.
You know how like on a windy day, it's kind of hard. You open your mouth and you're like, I can't breathe.
Yeah.
Multiply that by
Sure.
2,000.
Yeah, I mean that's
And
the
you'd
only
be dead. It's
one
not
reason
possible.
on top of many. The end is like completely unrealistic.
No, yeah.
But I do have like I love storms. Like I love thunderstorms. I love windstorms. I love hurricanes. I'm like in it for the storms.
I was just stressed out all the time. My least favorite thing when I was little in the summer was when there'd be a thunderstorm
Love
in the middle of the night,
thunderstorms.
and then I wouldn't be
So
able to go
fun.
to sleep, and I would I'd hide under the covers, plug my ears, and close my eyes, and the lightning you could like still see it even though your eyes were closed, and it was just like
God.
a very stressful time.
I love
for
it. What do you
me.
think that says about me?
But it
that
was
I'm,
so
like,
hot, and I
obsessed
was like,
with
I have to be
storms,
under the
though?
covers. I don't know. You're fucking Dr. Joe.
Am I Dr. Joe? Because I like loved her in this movie. So she is like a badass bitch character and was a great female role model. Seeing this as a little girl and you're like, yeah, I want to be like Joe. Even though there's some parts of it, like Bill Paxton's like all on top of her being all chivalrous and being like, here,
Yeah, no, fuck that. That's
hold
annoying.
on to this post.
Yeah,
like
like,
she
she-
fucking knows,
she fucking
dude.
knows.
She's a storm chaser. She
Yeah.
taught you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Bill.
So sweet movie. Really love it. So like I said, from 1996, came out in like May of 1996. Huge blockbuster. Started the summer, made like $40 million its first weekend, like almost half of its budget. So pretty cool. With Steven Spielberg's Amblin production, so it's like all his people like worked on this. He didn't direct it; some like other guy did. But with a Michael Crichton script, though, pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Fascinating.
Yep. And so who do we got in this film?
We got Bill Paxton, everyone's favorite tornado chaser, Titanic chaser, punk head. He's a lot of things, but yeah,
Apollo
Bill
13?
Paxton, Apollo 13. He's in so many things. Mormon.
Who's your guess of who else was like they wanted to play this role?
Probably the person people always mix up with Bill Paxton, right? What's
Bill
the
Pullman?
game we play? Yeah, probably
Could've
Bill
been
Pullman.
Yeah, that's a good one. So
Tom
Hanks.
Cruise. Tom Hanks. Yeah.
was the front runner for this. Actually read lines with people and had a whole wardrobe picked out. It said like he picked the wardrobe, and I'm like, Tom Hanks picks his own wardrobe.
Why?
That's weird. And then James Cameron, who like a huge boner for Bill Paxton, obviously, was like, hey, you should use Bill Paxton. And the director's like, yeah, you got it, because he has a certain Southern everyman charm that they wanted.
Okay.
And I think that worked well. I think
Sure.
he did an excellent
Yeah.
job in this. And he's like, was probably the cutest I've ever seen him. I mean, he was in his prime.
Sure. Yeah. I agree
Sometimes
with
I feel like he has like a box or cube head. Maybe it's his hairstyle.
that. What a cube head. Poor Bill. It's funny
Miss
that
you.
his character's name is Bill and his real name is Bill. It's like, get a new name. It's like,
Was he like, can't you name me something else?
well, I always wonder that in movies when it's like, is that weird for people to be like a character, but also your name?
How could
like,
you be playing a character
just,
when
like,
it's your
pick a
name?
new name. I don't know. It's just so weird. Anyways, we got Helen Hunt.
Hunt.
This bitch was living large in the 90s.
Prolific in the 90s.
Obviously had a huge success with the television show Mad About You. Won an Emmy or whatever, Golden Globe.
And that was like
lots of them.
That was the one that won like every year.
Yeah,
I feel like
it was annoying. It wasn't a show for people
No, it
like
wasn't a
us.
show for kids.
Yes,
So
AKA
boring.
kids.
I forgot what it came like after or
Unclear-
before, but I was always
unclear-
like, ugh.
unclear what it is about. Are they divorced?
No, it was a married couple.
No, I feel like there's like a crossword clue once where I was like, that's what it's about.
No. It's they're just like a married couple
Okay, then
and living
what
their
is
life in
Dharma
like New
and
York.
Greg about?
Dharma and Greg is about a married couple, and they marry like really quickly. She's like a hippie, and he's like a businessman, so it's like
Right.
that dynamic.
Well, I still think there's something weird with the Mad About You plot, but whatever.
it was just like a married
Helen
couple
Hunt
sitcom.
also as good as it gets.
So good.
Twister, other movies.
What is the really dumb one with Mel Gibson? What Women Want? Remember, she's like the lead
She's in that?
woman in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she had like a lot to do in the '90s, and I miss her. She was awesome.
She was awesome. Where is she?
I don't know. Where'd she go?
Helen Hunt. Where'd you go?
Where did you go?
We also got somebody you may have heard of called Philip Seymour Hoffman. PH.
Really doing
PSH.
his Philip Seymour Hoffman before he got into the serious,
Before he got
like,
serious.
big roles that won him all the
Yeah.
awards and stuff. He was like this guy all the
I
time.
always feel like he's in Titanic as like the Bill Paxton.
You're confusing
sidekick,
him with
and
this
I'm
movie.
confusing it with this.
Yeah.
Exactly, 100%.
And-
But he was also, also
I'm thinking of
see,
Boogie Nights.
Yeah,
He's a
see
very
Boogie
similar
Nights for
character.
for more information.
Like a gross dude, but like well-meaning and really sweet, but like has kind
But,
of
like,
rough edges.
Doesn't understand consent.
Touchy feely.
Yeah, it's like all strange. But he's pretty funny. Cary Elwes. Am I ever going to be able to feel confident
I gotta
saying
think
his
about it
name?
every time I say it.
I don't think so. I still don't think
Cary
I'm saying it.
Elwes.
I don't think I'm saying it right. But he is the villainous
Villain.
Jonas, the villain. He's an evil guy. He's the competitor tornado chaser who's in it for the money. Yeah, he's bad. And then like a bunch of people who you know from other movies, but they're all like that guy. Like there's so many, like whatever, Cameron from Ferris Bueller, the guy from Lost, that weird lady with the bucket hat and glasses. She's in something. I looked her up, but I couldn't think of nothing.
I didn't see
Nothing rang
anything
a
either.
bell.
NTV,
But
but I didn't
maybe
see
it's
that.
just from this.
Yeah.
Like the vision of her and the bucket hat is like ingrained in our head or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely one of those hey that guy movies. So that's
Hey, that girl.
That's it.
Who else?
I leave anyone out?
Meg is Lois. I forget her last name, but she was in Minority Report as like the woman in the greenhouse, like who makes like is one of the people who like makes the little things, not makes
the
them, but
little
like
things.
discovers
What,
them.
The memories?
Yeah, no, discovers the kids who
Oh,
can
yeah,
do the
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
The precogs.
The precogs, yeah. Lois something, I forget her name. is.
Lois.
And like a lot of sweet animals, and livestock, and some small town country folk, that do a good
Yeah.
job of playing
of
the extras.
existing in Oklahoma. I don't know
Yeah, those
why
poor,
you would.
poor suckers.
But that's the cast. So yeah, this obviously this movie happened in the age of the disaster movies. So there's just so many. Like I said, obviously I developed anxiety disorder if I was subjected to all these natural disaster movies that were about things that could probably actually happen and kill you or whatever.
And I think
so.
I think you're right. Like, why would people want to watch those? Like, it's like in also this time, I feel like there was all those like movies about like asteroids hitting the Earth
That's
and
what
stuff.
I'm saying. Those I'm
Like,
classifying
why
those
did
all
people
as
want to watch
disaster
those?
movies. You got Volcano, you got Dante's Peak, you got Deep Impact, you got Armageddon. I don't want to watch
And I
that
watched
shit.
all of those, and I came away very, very
I haven't
scared.
seen any of them except for Twister.
Right, like why
I've
is
never
that
even
on
seen
an
Armageddon.
entertainment level? I will
don't
say this one is a little bit
Yeah,
more
this one's
like
better.
because
Fine.
tornadoes actually happen. That's one thing, and like is a pretty normal way of life for people
Mm-hmm.
in that part of the country. But also they are like an interesting thing that I think like people don't know a lot about. interesting weather phenomenon, and like they do like kind of a good job of just working with the science in this movie. So I think that part of it's kind of cool for me. And obviously the whole drive of this movie is that they're scientists trying to work on technology that's going to make being able to like give warnings to people for tornadoes. And honestly, I hope that's improved, and I think it has with technology. Like, how much lead time do they have for tornadoes now? Are there still those surprise ones that just like pop up and you're like, oh shit?
I mean, I just feel like if there's a tornado warning, get somewhere and stay there for a while until it goes away. I think that's like the key here, right? Is that you can have a tornado warning which lasts like a day or whatever.
You're supposed to be in your basement the whole day?
Sure, if it means not getting sucked up in a fucking tornado and dying, why not?
No. I mean, we even get those here. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
what happened?
you're not in your basement the whole day.
No, but I mean, this is a short amount of time, and then you're like, okay, I guess it's over.
I mean, we don't live in that area, so like obviously an area where that has those. But like now, do you get like alerts on your phone, like an Amber Alert where it's like tornado?
Yeah.
I hope so, because that's like the level that technology I think this movie was going for. Obviously not seeing that far ahead with cell phones and stuff.
Maybe Dorothy did it. Maybe she made it possible.
Yeah,
today.
I think so.
I think it's a real thing.
But anyway, so this is one I will watch again and again. Like, I don't think I'm going to watch whatever the asteroid ones again and again, because those are extremely terrifying to me as some sort of doomsday scenario that I don't even want to watch and know, like, Ben Affleck isn't going to be blowing up that asteroid, with a nuclear bomb, like in the movie.
Okay, yep. It's Armageddon. It's called Armageddon.
Yeah. I just hate that movie.
Great. Yeah, never saw it. Not gonna see it. Don't care.
We're going to watch it for the podcast.
Don't care. Don't care. What? I don't want to watch it. It's too stressful.
We're just talking about how they were just so part of the 90s, so it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Okay, so let's get into it. Stop talking about disasters. Let's talk about this disaster. It's time for the sweet synopsis.
Yes, sweeties.
It's already here. It's already here. There's another one I was gonna do where he gives that like epic speech to her. And it's like such like
things happen. Yeah.
It's like,
you have to let them
like
go.
He's like all wet in the rain, and like he gives this like total bad Hollywood speech. I should have written that down. It was good, bad, good.
Yeah. Dr. Joe. So she doesn't have a real last name in this. She only in the credits she's Joe Harding, which is Bill's last name, and that's pretty bullshit. It's like she doesn't have an identity before, and she's the only one that we knew back when. So the movie opens with, one of those windy nights where there's like the calm before the storm, and then all hell breaks loose on this little farm in Oklahoma. And little Joe gets, she's sleeping. She gets roused. Thank
Oklahoma.
You. Yep. And she gets roused and taken across the yard to the storm cellar. Why is the storm cellar across the yard? I don't fucking know.
They don't look like a very, they seem to be sort of poor. They have basically a dugout, way across the other side of their yard, and the door is like a rickety old fence with like a busted lock.
Really upset me.
They're not doing that well, I don't think.
They like leave her fucking dog on the bed. It's like it's the worst opening. It's just very upsetting to me. It's a very upsetting scene. So they make it into this little like shack or whatever. Like Sweetie said, the door to close it is this rickety piece of shit wood that is like, what is that? Like really thin wood, like balsa or whatever. Like it's like, what the fuck? Who did this?
Well, it just looks like a previous broken old fence.
The tornado's so strong, it's like blowing it open. The dad tries to hold it shut, and then the tornado like rips open the door, and the dad with it.
Well, guys, it's an F5, which if you didn't know on
you don't know that until
Fukushima scale or whatever it's called, that's the highest it goes.
Yeah. And so he gets sucked up in that tornado. He did, because it's not like the Wizard of Oz. We explained this during the Wizard of Oz, but you don't actually get to like hang out in the tornado and watch people row by in rowboats. You're dead. So cut to however long later, Joe is a grown ass woman, and she's a scientist, as Sweetie said, but they're really more like badass science. It's like Indiana Jones is an architect in the way that it's like the same thing, right? They're like scientists, quote unquote, who are badass and like drive trucks and do crazy
like
shit and are super brave.
They're not really cowboys, but in that like frame of like doing stuff like their way and maybe like not by the book. Like, renegade, yeah.
Coming at you.
Like you can't say the word renegade without saying it like renegade.
Because it's in Full House. Rush hour renegade.
No, not you. Me,
Coming at ya.
me, anybody can't say
Yeah.
like you gotta
Probably 'cause of Full
renegade.
House. Anyway, so
It's not because of Full House.
It's everything is to do with
No.
Full House. Yes, it is. So Bill, we meet Bill. He's got his woman with him, and they're on a mission to get his
woman.
divorce papers signed by his ex-wife, or
No.
soon-to-be ex-wife, Joe, who's Helen Hunt. So it's so important for him to get these fucking things signed. She can't mail them, apparently. And
Well, he's trying to get married to this other woman.
can you cool it? Like, you need to get married tomorrow?
Yes.
What is this?
Yes.
Is she pregnant? You know what I noticed, though? She said when Helen Hunt finds out that he's engaged to her, she's like, Melissa, the woman, is like, which thing is she excited for? Do you think she was, like, pregnant?
No, I do not think she was pregnant.
Well, then what else could she had possibly thought he was referring to? I don't know. Anyways, so...
the Dorothy thing.
No, Melissa didn't know about Dorothy.
Oh.
It was to Dorothy. She was like, whatever. So, so let's see. So they're driving to Joe. Joe and her team of tornado chasers have been alerted to whatever this storm cell in Oklahoma. I guess Tornado Alley or whatever. Is that in Oklahoma? I know it's a thing. Maybe it's there. Whatever. So perfect time for Bill to just come like trooping in and with his fiance needing divorce papers signed. So they have this little exchange. It's sweet. There's obviously still something there, even though it seems to be mostly anger and passion at this point. Bill
Tornado Alley spans a couple states.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Sweet.
Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kansas, South Dakota.
Wow, it's a lot of states.
that's a big
Don't
alley.
live in there.
Don't
So Bill has no longer part of the tornado chasers. I don't know what happened to him between the time that he and Joe broke up.
He's a weatherman now.
Oh, is that why they were making fun of him?
Yes.
Okay, I get it.
So he's living the more, I think when you study weather, there's like two options you can go, right? You can either be a weatherman or you can do sort of this like renegade weather studying, which is like what these guys are doing. So he's like kind of traded. He's kind of a trader, but it sounded like he was kind of looking for a life that was a little bit more like, I want to settle down. I want to buy a house. Like, I don't want to buy a new car every time a tornado takes it away. I mean, how many cars do these people have to buy?
Realistic dreams.
Yeah. Like, can you chase tornadoes forever?
No.
Whereas Joe has basically like this vendetta against tornadoes because they took her dad away when she was little. So she's like upset and angry but also like wants to use this technology to like improve what we know about tornadoes and then have that sort of time, the warning, improve the warnings for people. So someone's dad, like her dad, like won't get taken away. So Bill was out of there. Yep. And they're going to get a divorce. Well, they did, I guess. And, but she wouldn't sign the papers.
But she has them. They're mostly signed or whatever. So he comes in, and
have
as
time.
luck would have it, there's a bunch of tornadoes about to hit. So Bill's like, well, conveniently, Dr. Joe forgets to sign the final. She leaves like one page unsigned and then forgets to give it to him. And a tornado is brewing somewhere. So they're like, gotta go. And Bill's like, well, I need to get that paper signed. So I guess we're chasing her. I mean, realistically, I think he wanted this to happen. I'm like, this is why I'm saying, like, I don't think he needed her to sign those papers right at that moment. But I think something was calling him back.
Like chasing someone to get divorce papers. I feel like that's somewhat a common trope.
Is it? Just sign the fucking paper. But anyway, so he takes his poor fiance, Melissa.
It's like a movie where they're divorced, but then they fall in love by the end, and they're like, we're divorced.
The Money Pit?
No.
Sex and the
Keep
City.
going. I'll think about it.
Okay. So, I know what you're talking about. When they're like, oh, it's too late.
Yeah.
Then they have to get married
Oh,
again.
it's midnight. Like, we're divorced.
Yeah.
And then they have to get married.
Yeah. Good movie.
Movie, whatever that is.
So where was I?
Tornado.
This is terrible.
We're chasing. They're going to put the Dorothy up there. Did you talk about Dorothy?
No, so they made this thing called Dorothy, which obviously allusion to Wizard of Oz, but it's a little thing that you have to hit 8 million buttons, and then the thing opens, and these little sensors fly out into the tornado, and then they send back all this data to you, and it's very exciting because nobody's ever been inside a tornado, so they don't have the data. So they built like 4 of these things, and Bill sees it and he's super excited. It's his design, but Joe had made them. So he's excited about that, and he's like, seems to be reinvigorated. He's like, well, I'm gonna get in on this tornado. So he just fucking like jumps in the truck with Joe, and they drive off to dump this Dorothy by the tornado. And his fiance is like, okay. He's like, honey, you drive this truck and follow us. What? That
Whose truck was that?
Nuts. I thought it was hers. I guess it's his,
yeah.
but I don't know.
I thought his was the red one.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
The white one. What, the one
No,
that she
his
drives.
was the red one. What?
She's driving a white truck like behind them.
No, the fiance?
Yeah.
No, she's driving the big red truck.
Oh, and
Bill
they're
and Joe are in the little Jeep.
in the little yellow
the
one.
cool Jeep, yeah. So they chase it, and then it's a bust. They can't get the thing out in time. The tornado's coming for them. They have to seek shelter, so they almost die, but they make it. Don't worry. Truck and Dorothy, not so lucky. Dorothy number 1 is donezo. So Melissa's like, what the fuck? Like, this is crazy. Like, you almost just died, and then she almost dies because the truck fucking falls and almost hits the truck, her truck. There's a lot of trucks happening. But they're like, okay, they're on to the next. So basically, Bill has now just rejoined the group and is just going to chase these tornadoes.
Right.
Doesn't clear it with his fiance. Isn't like, hey, honey, we need to do this thing with my ex-wife. Like, no biggie, no big deal. It's really, Sweetie and I really have had a different perception of the Melissa character in this viewing. Now that we're older, we're like, what the fuck?
I mean, I think you're supposed to see her as like, you know, obviously the exact opposite of Joe. She's dark hair. She has this like perm. She wears a white suit.
She doesn't know anything about
she's
tornadoes.
A therapist. She doesn't know anything about tornadoes. She's like very southern and really sweet, but like, I just felt so bad for her the entire movie because she's just getting thrown into this, obviously the most awkward situation in the world. Your fiance, like visiting the ex-wife, which is awkward anyway, and then kind of finding out, okay, there might be still feelings here, and then figuring out that like your fiance was like some crazy storm chaser and like he had this whole other life before you, and then seeing all that tension between the exes. I mean,
it's terrible.
And also like almost getting killed a bunch of times.
And almost dying.
Like that is fucking stressful.
Awful.
So basically the whole movie is just them encountering tornadoes and trying to get one of the Dorothys, so they have 4 of them, up into the tornadoes. Now, it's just not a good design with this Dorothy thing.
No, terrible.
And it's also, the thing with tornadoes is that there's so many variables involved with tornadoes that you cannot predict what is coming out of that tornado that might upset the Dorothy. So no matter if you put it like right in the tornado's path, it's a good chance it's going to be blown over or hit or something.
Not to mention, you have to fucking drive it into the tornado and then somehow get away. It's just a terrible, terrible thing. I mean, build a robot, send it out there.
Yeah.
Ta-da,
I mean,
it's
just-
done.
it's way too much.
I thought of like 50 other designs
Yeah.
that would have improved the Dorothy by like 10.
Oh yeah, just they would
But-
need to work on, if they're ever doing this
So
again,
it's
they
it's
would
all
need to work on
strapped
that
down.
delivery.
You have to hit all these buttons. You have to like undo like 8,000 little those little flicky button things.
And it seems
switches.
to me the tornadoes move like all the time. Like
Right.
they go on a path and then they're moving and
They're
they're moving.
unpredictable.
They're so unpredictable. So like you might put it right in its path and it's like, oh, it's veering the other way. So it just so this is basically like the whole movie.
Yeah.
And also they seem to get closer and closer. Like the tornadoes like get bigger in size, it seems, like as they go. And so that like kind of escalates things. You're like, okay, and it's all in one day, mind you. So it's like 4 or 5 tornadoes in like one day. So they stop at one point at the aunt of Joe, and they get this like nice steak dinner or whatever. And there's more like feelings happening between Bill and Joe and whatever. And then there's another tornado like in between that, and then they finally end up at like this drive-in at the night, and they're they're having coffees and everyone's kind of like chilling out. And then it's just all of a sudden like the wind changes. And that's like seems to be all it takes. Now, tornadoes at night, scary because you can't see them coming. So the thing just like blasts through this drive-in movie. And all of a sudden it's this like giant tornado is like on top of them. Scary. Yeah. So they like run into this barn, which has this sort of underground little thing that like everyone's crowding in. But it's still like every single thing in that drive-in is like poking through that barn. I mean, it's just like coming in. Some guy gets like almost like his head cut off by a hubcap.
Yeah,
I mean, stuff is like fucking it's real. Nuts. So at this point, the fiance is like, "Hey, I don't think we're a match. I do not want to live this life." And good for you, lady, because it wasn't going to work out anyway.
No.
They were different people. He was still in love with Joe. And, I really like her phrasing being like, "Oh, I'm not even that upset." What does that mean?
Right.
Exactly.
No.
So thank God fiance's gone because, that was just holding everybody back.
Totally.
Let's be real.
So now, Bill can be free.
Yeah, Bill can be free. But that tornado is moving towards the Aunt Meg's house. Aunt Meg or Aunt Meg? Meg, yeah. She lives in Waukita, Oklahoma. And it's going right there. And it is, again, no one has any warning because I don't know what happened with this one or why no one knew it was coming, whatever. Blast right through that town. And they go to see if she's okay. And her whole house is like barely standing. So they go in there to go get her, and like luckily she was like on the bottom, like the dog is barking, and she's okay. And they get her out of that house, and then the house collapses. What shitty construction! And that might be because they used to rebuild all the time, and I wonder if they rebuild really fast, like kind of badly, and then these houses like really don't stand.
But you would think if you built them well and structured, maybe in the long run it would last. But what do we know about architecture?
So I just looked up. I don't think was that a category 5? The one that
no, I think that was still wasn't that the 4
one
from the drive?
So a 5
is the same one? No,
higher than a 235 mile an hour winds. So that's a 5.
Yeah, you can't breathe in that motherfucker. Yeah. So
it is intense storm.
But now they're chasing the big one.
The big tuna.
Yeah, the F5. They have 2 Dorothys left. So, meanwhile, Nemesis, Jonas, has been trying as well. He's on their tail, but he doesn't have the instinct, as Bill says. So he's really just following them, and they can't get there in time, obviously. But Joe and Bill go out there with the Dorothy. They, like, put it in the road. They set it up real good, and then the tornado just fucking disappears. It's really weird, right? Is that the one that disappears? Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
They're like, where'd it go? Where'd it go? And then it like comes back, and they go to chase that one. They have another Dorothy left, and then Jonas is closer to it, and then tries to like get towards it. But Bill sees it kind of moving, so they try to warn him over the radio, and he's like, "Fuck you guys!" And then drives right like into it, and he's dead. And his sweet little driver guy who tries to listen to Bill is dead too. Rest in peace, Dennis.
Eddie.
Fuck, who's Dennis?
I don't know.
Who is Dennis? So then they get a chance now to do it. So they drive through this cornfield. They put the car in cruise control, which is a genius idea. Genius. I don't know why they didn't use cruise control these other times. Let the thing coast in there. The things fly up. They finally get it to fucking work. The people back at the base are getting all these readings. Life is good. However, the tornado then swerves again, and now it's coming right for Bill and Joe. So they run through the cornfield. They get into this like crazy barn. It seems to be where the Texas Chainsaw Massacre people live because there's all these scary tools everywhere, and they're like, this is not a good idea. Things are flying at them. They get out of there, go to this other little shack where there is a pipe in the ground. Bill says these pipes run 20 to 30 feet underground. If we anchor to it, we'll be fine. So they find 2 little leather belts.
I think they're horse
things.
Reins.
Yeah, we know about horses. And they strap themselves in and then just hold on for the ride. And here comes the F5, and they're in the middle of the tornado, just like flying. They're safe. They're having a great time.
In the funnel. They're like, this is the best. This is what we've been living for.
It's crazy. And then it stops, and then it's good, and everybody's like, yay! Did you see that? And they're like, yeah, we fucking saw it. And that's it. And then they don't share the data that they received with us. Thanks.
Yeah, I wonder what they got.
I want to know what they got. Did we get anything, guys? Like, hello. It'd be cool if they played it over the credits and they're like, blah, blah,
I wonder,
blah, blah,
I mean,
blah.
how many times they're going to have to do that to be able
Right,
to get
like, get it like
actual
one
results?
time.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like I don't know. I'm not buying it.
But I mean, I think they need to prove it was successful. And then, like she said, like they get grant money and they can open a lab and all that stuff. So, I think down the road, Twister 2. The research begins.
Oh my God.
Snoozer.
Good one.
So great movie, super exciting. As we said in the beginning, just nonstop. You get like basically 10-minute little breaks of them having kind of downtime, and then it's back to Tornadoville, and it's just pretty crazy. So it's a really awesome thrill ride. I kind of wish I had saw this in theaters. That would have been fun, but I did not. I don't think I did.
No.
I
I
feel like I would have been too scared.
Yeah. We saw Jurassic Park, but
it was marketed very scary. I do remember that. And like the poster is very ominous. And I remember like when you watch a movie and you're like, oh, I remember this in the preview. I remember the preview being quite scary. Yeah. So I don't think I would have been like running to the theater to see it.
No, definitely.
I was in my scared phase.
Certainly not to me, who was terrified of all storms. So I mentioned this a little bit, but there's a lot of animals in this movie, and Sweetie can confirm this, but I was really stressed out, you guys. The second there's an animal in one of these kinds of movies, I just have a bad feeling that something bad's going to happen to it.
Yeah, but it's like either the director or the script writer, Michael Crichton, like knew that people don't like to see animals die because none do, except one cow goes floating by, but you don't even like see it die.
It's fine if none of them die, but just the stress and anxiety of even thinking that you would leave your dog in a house where the tornado's coming is just too upsetting to me, and it just makes me very upset.
Well,
so
that was 1969, where I feel like the relationship people had with pets was a little different than we do now.
Well, fuck that. Yeah. Listen, whatever. So that was stressful. The other thing that I appreciate about this movie is that people don't really die. I don't think it has. Maybe it does have to do with this, but this movie's PG-13, right? So if it was rated R, do you feel like more people would have died, or they would have like shown more things? But like most people seem to get away unscathed from these wild tornadoes.
And I feel like it definitely could have been a movie because what makes this movie fun is I find that the characters are like really, it's a fun little like group of people that you're following around. So like that's really adds to this movie. Obviously you have Helen Hunt and the Bill Paxton, but then they have the Philip Seymour Hoffman and all these other little guys who like kind of have all these little personalities. Like there's the rabbit guy who does all the map stuff. There's like this like hippie guy who drives a station wagon.
What's his role? What's he do?
I don't know.
What's his specialty?
Yeah, some of them seem to be more scientist space. I don't know. Like it's not like defined about what everybody does, but I think it could have gone the way that like you introduce all these characters, right, and then one of them dies.
Like no name is mentioned. Fabricio. Like
exactly. So it definitely could have done that, but I'm glad that they didn't, because I always feel like that's like just such a low blow. I feel like we saw something recently where that happened too.
Fabricio.
No, but was there another? Oh, well, I explained that whole practice of doing that and how much I hate it. Yeah. Because it's like, I like movies where only people that die are people you've barely been introduced to. And I think that that's what I liked about this one. Good for you, Jean Dupont, or whoever like the director was.
Oh, is that his name?
Something like that.
My favorite. Yeah. So totally, and it makes it less stressful, I would say, for me, for sure, and I appreciate that a lot.
But you don't know that watching a movie for the first time.
No, that's why I prefer other people to watch it, so that they can tell me. It's like that site, does the dog die, right, and then you're prepared. I just wish people would stop putting animals in movies. Like I love animals, but I just don't put them in precarious situations. Right. It's just unfair. What else can I say? What do you have?
Well, I would like to first start with the unreal moments of this. Now, granted, I'm not sure what is unreal and real in terms of living through tornadoes. I've never experienced one. I don't know. But here's what seems unrealistic to me. Ready? Okay. There's a scene where tornadoes, it's kind of cool, like goes over water and then it splits into 2 tornadoes. Now, mind you, in this movie, they're storm chasers, so they're pretty used to driving pretty close to tornadoes, but they seem very, very calm driving like literally right next to a tornado, which seems insane to me. So and then that's why it's good that that woman, the fiance, comes in, because she's a non-storm chaser, and like her reactions seem more appropriate to like what you would feel like if you were next to a tornado, right? So there's a scene where they find like the twin tornadoes kind of come, and then they're on this like sort of land bridge between, there's like 2 bodies of water, and the tornadoes come and literally just like surround the truck they're in and just keep spinning it. Like, what? Would that happen?
No, I don't know. I don't think so. But God bless that truck. What kind of truck was that? It survives a lot of shit. So, okay, we got Mr. M. Frank. M. Frank is blowing up Sweetie's inbox. We keep getting the notifications. It's too much. So yeah, there's that scene. There is the scene where, like, I guess it's the end, kind of.
The one I have is the explosion with the 16-wheeler.
The explosion. So they're trying to get away from this tornado. Unfortunately, as luck would have it, they have driven over a tree.
No, remember the tree comes out of the tornado and goes under the car.
I know, and now they're it's lodged under there, and they're stuck. And then they see something in the tornado, and they're like, "What is that?" And I think I do a pretty good Bill Paxton impression. I don't know about you, but I'm like, what is that?
That's really good.
And then, and then it like you see it come out, and it's a oil tanker. Oh my God, I thought you were Bill. I thought he came back from the dead. That was great. But yeah, this oil tanker just like flies at them. Crashes right in front of them, explodes because it's an oil tanker, and then they fucking drive through the fireball like nothing's, like they're like, they do this every day. They're just like la la la, driving through the fire. They're fine. The car is fine. They get over the tree. I don't know how.
I mean, would your truck not explode if you drove through a fireball?
Or be scorched at? It's not even scorched. It's like flame retardant truck. That scene. I mean, I know everybody talks about the end scene with the reins, the belts, and the pipes, but this was just unbelievable to me.
Or how about when a house gets blown out of the tornado, and they just apparently can drive right through a house. So they drive through the front door, they drive up the stairs, they drive out the second floor. I mean, what? Would that happen? I mean, you would have to be like gunning it when you hit that house, and somehow, I don't know if you could keep your foot totally pedaled to the metal if you were going through a house. I just think
especially
that like shock of crashing
yeah.
into it.
And if you're going like up or down like the stairs, like something would not have
we
worked
need
there.
The Mythbusters.
We need the Mythbusters. Yeah. Can you drive through a house?
Insane. And then obviously, last but not least, they hang onto a pipe in the middle of an F5. Okay, like in some ways I want to say believable, because you have the Bill Paxton character seeming like he knows what he's talking about when he's like, these pipes go 35 feet underground.
Convenient pipes.
Yeah. So like it seems like he like knows what he's talking about. So that's pretty cool. But I don't know. When I saw that, I remember the first time I saw this, I was just like, what? No way.
I don't think it hit me that they're supposed to be in the tornado, like until just this viewing where I was like, wow, they're in that sucker.
And when I first saw this, I remember I saw it this time, I was like, oh, they each have their own belt. In my mind, when I first saw this, I remembered that I thought he took off his own belt, used that, and they shared it, and he was just like holding on to her. So that made it even more unbelievable.
Seems like Sweetie.
But they each
Sweetie
have
film.
They each have, right. If I was to retelling this movie to somebody, I'd be like, listen to this. He uses his own belt. He ties him to the pipe. They still survive. Yeah, so that's not what happens. They each have like their own, like we said, I think it's like the reins of the horses
who survive,
which is pretty cool. And the house is still standing.
Yeah, what was that? House is like a weird mansion house that was made of stone or something. And then the family comes out of their actual like bunker, doomsday bunker.
Why don't they build the houses out of stone?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they just spent a little more time making
fuck?
good quality
Seriously,
shit.
stop making sheds. Like,
although realistically, guys, just like don't make your home in these states. Like, it just doesn't seem worth it to me if you can have 6 tornadoes in one night at any time. I just forget it.
I mean, I think that is pretty rare, but honestly, that the chance if that happens even like once a year, I'd be like, you know what? Like, I'm good.
Yeah. Bye.
Later, making my home somewhere else. I mean, and that's why those towns are still like 500 people are in them.
Yeah,
you
'cause
know?
they all die every time the fucking tornado comes.
Yeah,
Come
it's
on,
just, I don't know.
Get it together.
Good
Move
for
out.
those people. I really like. You know, that's a lot of courage to be living
Right.
in those sort of
You can
natural
grow-
disaster
You can
areas.
grow corn somewhere else. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Anyways, so yeah, good times. What else?
Okay, so did you know that the sounds of the tornado was made by using camel moans
Okay.
and then playing with the speed of them?
Okay, that makes sense because every so often I'd be like, why do I hear weird groaning, moaning? It sounded like a monster. And I think that's on purpose because they kind of personify the tornadoes to be
beast.
like beasts, right? Remind me of like Poltergeist, the beast.
But I love
Beast
that
of
part
the-
when he's like, well, it just depends on how much they eat. When he's talking about like, how do you like categorize hurricanes? And Bill Paxton's like, it's just about how much they eat. I mean, destroy. His fiance is like, what?
Good Freudian slip, Bill. Yeah, and I do enjoy that, but they are quite scary. But I remember the lore, the excitement of like the F5 when I was little. Like that was like a big thing. You're like, oh, what category was it? And even today,
Well, same with
when I read,
hurricanes.
and even today when I read a story about a tornado, I'm always like, what F was it? Was it an F whatever? Full
Interesting
legally
that they're both
3.
up to 5s.
Yeah, why can't these go up to 11, you know?
Yeah.
It's-
Wow, that would be a hell of a fucking storm.
Yeah.
So it said in the trivia this was the first movie released on DVD. Cool.
Okay. I believe
Cool.
it.
Yeah. Also, fun fact. This is a new segment I want to call Moment in Time. Just give me one moment in time. It's talking about historically, like when this movie was being filmed or came out, what else is going on in the world,
Yeah,
right?
well, yeah.
So this movie was filming in Oklahoma when, maybe you can guess.
The Oklahoma City
Yes. So filming was
Isn't Oklahoma City in Kansas
Oklahoma.
City is
Yeah,
in
that's the
Oklahoma.
confusing
In
one.
Oklahoma.
So Oklahoma City bombing happened. Remember, this is this came out in 96, but they were filming in 1995. And they stopped filming because a lot of the crew went to the bombing site to help out.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Good for them.
And like kind of first
Yeah, that
responder
was a
kind of
crazy
style.
time. That was like my first
I remember where I was when that happened. Do you?
school.
Maybe I don't know if you were with me or not, but I think
I
it
was
was
in
in
school.
April, I want to say. Because we were, or maybe, I think it was April, but we were driving from like our aunt and uncle's house in Hingham and with Uncle Mike. And I remember I was in the front seat. I don't know, maybe you weren't with us, but he was driving me back home to the Cape Cod because I must have stayed with them for a weekend or something. And it was on the radio.
Sketchy.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember. I thought I was in class. I don't know. But I just remember that was like my first big disaster
No, it was like a weekend.
that I was alive for. I mean, technically, I
How old
think
were
I
you?
had been alive for the Challenger explosion, but I was a baby, obviously. But
nine.
I don't know.
9.
What year was it? 96?
Yeah. No, 95.
95, so like 4th or 3rd grade probably. But yeah, I just remember that image of the building with the it's just burned in your brain.
Yep.
Crazy.
Awful. But yeah, that's like a cool little moment in time thing. Yeah, and what else do I want to talk about? Yeah, the bad guy Cary Elwes. You know, it's tough for me because I just love his character so much in
Yeah, I prefer
Princess
the
Bride.
good- yeah, I prefer
but
the
he
good
has done
Cary.
a lot of villain. Like,
he can do
roles.
both. He can
really
do both. He's very talented, but I do prefer him in his kookier, nicer roles.
Because I feel like because he seems so nice, they are able to take that niceness and make it seem kind of crazy. Either because he's like a serial killer in Kiss the Girls, if you remember that. I think he's also in the Alicia Silverstone movie, like The Crush. I mean,
yeah.
she's bad and
You've
he's
talked
like
about- yeah.
good. And then you have him as Liar as like the villain, but like you feel kind of bad for him and kind of like him by the end.
Yeah, I think he's genuine, and
Yeah.
I think he's just a dork.
Yeah.
So I feel for him, the Claw, you know.
And then I
He's
think he was
okay.
just in that Black Christmas movie. I mean, did anyone see it?
He
They
was
gave away
obvious-
everything.
yeah, he was
in
obviously
the preview.
the killer.
Yeah, but
in
he was
that.
obviously the killer in that.
Yeah. So yeah, he can do both. God bless him. God bless him.
Because I think he projects like, oh, regular guy, super nice, and then they always like make it a twist, like, ooh, he's actually like a killer.
A twister.
And lastly, I would like to close on a real life story about the twister.
What?
I said in the beginning that Cape Cod does not usually have twisters, guys, but guess what? We had one last summer. We were not there, but it hit our mother's town. It hit Carol's house.
Hit like the street next to Carol's
Yeah, it didn't hit her house, but like her whole street was like all these trees fell down. And man, 13-year-old me wish I was there. That was what I was waiting for, to be crouching in a basement being like, ah. I mean, my sister was down there with with our niece Ava. They had to like wake, like Ava was sleeping. She had to go down there. She was like all sleepy and being like, what's going on, Mom? We got these like funny pictures of them like crouching in the cellar. Oh man.
Too scary. I don't like it.
God, I wish I was there.
So, just real quick. So,
what would we do if that happened here? We shit out of luck.
Dead. We said, grab Moosh and run. I don't know.
Where?
So,
We don't have a basement?
So Night of the Twisters, which is was a book, I think, and then they made this. I think it was a TV. I think that was a TV movie, right? But Devon Sawa is in it, and that movie scarred me probably for life more than like any other disaster movie. I remember this one scene where they're like driving away in their Jeep, and then they're like, "Look, it's the Hendersons," and then like they're behind them, and they're like, "Come on, you can make it, come on!" And then the Jeep fucking gets like sucked up in the tornado, and like there go the Hendersons, like so messed up. So that just sticks with me. There's also a scene where like the toaster flies out of the wall, and man, every night, and he'd be like, he was alone in that scene. They're like, "Okay, honey, like you're on your own," and then the tornadoes happen, and I think he has a baby sister he has to take care of. It's fucking nuts, guys. That movie, crazy.
I mean, this is very morbid, but I just want to know, when you get sucked into a twister, like where do you go?
You get thrown out. They're like the trucks. They land.
So, but like how far, like do people find your body across town?
Probably.
Like how do they find those people?
Probably.
Like, where are they? Like how far have they found bodies being like blown from?
Maybe Dorothy would tell us that data and they could have shared it with us and we would know.
I know. It really just boggles my mind. And like, has anyone survived that?
No.
Are you sure?
I don't think so. I feel like we
Look
would have
that
heard
up.
about it. Yeah, look that up. Anyways, all right. Well, that's Twista. So, good times,
What
right?
do I Google? Has anyone
Survived
being sucked up in
in
a
a
tornado?
tornado. Sure. Yep. That seems right.
It was the third thing, and then it went away.
What?
Being sucked into.
A vagina. What is it?
8-year-old boy in Alabama survives being sucked into a tornado.
What?
His house
What
is a pile of
category?
rubble, and he's in the hospital. But Alabama dad Reginald Epps considers himself lucky after his 8-year-old was sucked into a tornado and survived. Happened early Wednesday when howling winds lifted Reginald Jr. This was April 29th, 2011.
What's the category? What category is that? Category 1? F1?
Tornadoes touch down an average of 1,000 times every year in the U.S. Oh my God!
They what? What? What do they do?
1,000 times in 1 year.
What?
Usually tornadoes touch down.
Sure. Tornado Alley, man.
What would happen if someone got sucked inside a tornado? Most likely they would be struck dead by flying debris. I think that is the main thing.
I think it's suffocation.
A tornado will not hit a person, but will pick them up with other debris, which can hit you either on the ground or being carried by the tornado. Wow. Many people survive the first two parts of the tornado, and some get trapped into staying inside too long and can't get out. Oof. Can a tornado rip you apart? Ooh.
Okay.
This
What is the site? All
is
right.
scary.
Well, good times. So, you want to talk about tornadoes? People dying, getting sucked up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Come find us on Twitter at
Suck.
the Sweetie Club.
Suck. Spaceballs.
Good one. Or on Instagram at Large Marge sent us. Thank you, as always, for listening.
Bye. Tornado rape artist.